we've made a lot of progress. And I know it feels sometimes that we're in the same place. Many of you who come to these meetings often see how difficult it is to keep the momentum of our work. But I believe we have made very good progress. We've tested our multi-stakeholder model to the ends of it, but we are moving forward. And I think this community that comes together here in Dublin will continue in its commitment to keep the momentum forward, to finish our work and to deliver to the world what the world is watching us do. I have no doubt. We are able to do that, and we will do it. Now, this is also our annual general meeting. So let me just do some highlights over what we have accomplished in the last year. If you look at our community's work, it continues to baffle me how much we get done. Like you, I attend many global meetings on various issues. And often I go to these meetings and the meetings are good. There are a lot of bilaterals. We meet a lot of people, but the work, the amount of work that gets done, nothing compares to what we get done here at ICANN. I take off my jacket to remind us all, we are in a working meeting. We come here to get things done. Look at this incredible record just over the last 12 months. From the ASO to the IETF, to our own ICANN naming community, the number of the number of meetings we've held, the number of policies we've put through, the number of motions we've approved. Just recently, since ICANN54, as you can see, 18 proceedings have been closed. This is incredible work. My chairman mentioned the numbers at the bottom, the community work just on the transition. And yes, I think we all know that it's not just about effort, it's about outcome. But we need this effort. We need people to put time. And let's not forget, at ICANN, it's mostly volunteer time. It's people leaving their children with their mothers and coming across. Many of you pay your own way to be here, to volunteer, to give your time to ICANN. So thank you. Thank you for this great report card from a great community. Now, if I look at my team and what we have to do to support you, the number of activities we've accomplished, I'm just showing you some highlights here. 760 new top-level domains delegated, 1,200 signed. These are numbers that we didn't even imagine a year ago. From my perspective, I promised you a global support center. We now have a global support center, 24 hours a day, 5 days a week. We built the hubs around the world, and we distribute this activity. And if you call today, we have people answering you in Arabic, Chinese, English, French, Russian, Spanish, Portuguese, and Turkish, 24 hours a day. These are all new things we've put in place in order to make sure our community is supported. The compliance rate after the 3-year reviews, 96%. This is work that reflects you as a community and the great service we offer the world. I wanted also to point out on the financials. I've shared with you before how much work we've done to give you visibility and make us accountable for our budget work. I'll highlight that for the first year, ICANN is publishing, as I'll show you in this example, the exact numbers per project on where we're spending. There are hundreds of projects on our website. This is off of our website. So under the objective advancing our organizational, technological, and operational excellence, there's a particular goal, and under that goal, there's a portfolio of activities, and under that, there is one particular project as an example, which is this meeting. How much is this meeting costing us? $3.2 million. Everything we do at ICANN is now detailed down to the project live on our website. So you can keep me and keep ICANN accountable to the community for how we advance our work. I want to look forward a little bit and spend a few minutes not talking about the transition. I think ICANN's remit and responsibilities, especially in light of the transition, are now being tested. And so in order to talk about this, I wanted to just touch on a model we've been using to explain where does ICANN's role start and where does ICANN's role stop. So if we were to stratify internet governance and digital governance in general into 3 layers, there's obviously the infrastructure layer. This is the layer with all the networks. I think we're pretty clear how this is governed and its remit. And the IETF and the IEEE and the ITU and the ministries and the regulators already have that layer pretty much managed. Then there is this logical layer, which the IETF, the regional internet registries, ICANN, we work together to make sure that this layer is stable and secure. This logical layer is where all the focus is now because of the transition. And then you go to the economic and societal layer, where all the issues around content, human rights, cybersecurity warfare, all the issues that the world is grappling with as the internet becomes the horizontal fabric underneath everything happen. Now, I show this because it's very clear that our remit starts and stops in this logical yellow layer. We do not have any responsibility in the upper layer. And when the transition happens, the pressures on ICANN will increase for us to possibly expand our remit. And let me be superbly clear here. The community has spoken, and it's important to underline that in every possible way. ICANN's remit is not in the blue layer. It is not in the economic and societal layer. This is a technical organization, and our job is to maintain the stability of these unique identifiers and the resources necessary to make sure they work. So when people ask us to render judgment on matters in the upper layer, we can't. However, we cannot also walk away from our responsibilities in our layer. So how do we find that balance? How do we explain when the president of a country met me recently and said, here's a list of websites. They're all promoting terrorism. Close them. And I said, Mr. President, we are operating a layer and we have no remit or responsibility to render judgment on which sites are terrorists, which sites are good pharmacies, which sites are bad pharmacies, which sites are committing crime, which sites are infringing copyrights. There's a difference between ICANN being the coordinator of a technical layer and ICANN starting to make the factual or legal determinations as to which sites should be opened or closed. So let's be superbly clear that our role stops at this yellow layer. Now, to those of you here and in the world who say, but is ICANN walking away then from its responsibilities in the yellow logical layer? And my answer is no. So as much as we will say our remit stops at being the technical coordinator along with the regional internet registries and the IETF, I also think as a community we should understand that we have responsibilities in that ecosystem. Our responsibilities include the importance of, once determinations are made, to respond to these. How do we respond to these? I hope voluntarily. For example, credit card companies around the world now voluntarily close sites that are promoting illegal activity. There is no treaty, there are no laws. In their case, they get determinations on spam or crime from places like Spam House, and they react. They do their job. Now, in some cases, we need to enforce our contracts. And we should also not shy away from that. We have a responsibility as a community to do that. Finding that balance needs you. It's not for me and not for ICANN staff to make that decision. It's for us as a community, businesses, registries, registrars, IP holders, those concerned with public safety, governments, all of us should work together. But it's not at ICANN, because ICANN's remit is not in determining what action to take. Our remit is to be responsible and respond voluntarily by inviting our community to do so, or when necessary through our contracts. But we have no legal authority to make those determinations. I wanted to underline that because I think as the transition moves on, there will be new pressures that we will feel as a community, and it's important to outline these early. Let me focus for a minute on my role in the transition, which is to implement what this community asks me to do. So at ICANN, we are getting ready for the transition. Well, how do we get ready? There is a series of activities we are already starting. These activities can be bundled into these three important areas. The first is starting to prepare for the root zone management system changes that need to occur if the transition is successful. So we're not doing anything that presumes the transition will be successful. We are simply planning and preparing, and I'll explain that in a little bit, but the activities and the planning activities are in these three areas. In terms of the root zone, the real focus there is to decide, based on your proposal, how are we going to implement the absence of the US government's role in the updates to the root zone. And that work already started at the planning and thinking stage, not in terms of actual execution, for obvious reasons. Also, the community has now designed this post-transition IANA model that includes some new and important processes that you can see here. New service level agreements with our operational communities that need to be implemented. All of that work is already starting. And finally, as the accountability teams wrap up their proposal, we will need to understand the impact of that on our work and on our bylaws. And that already has started. So if I lay these out against the timeline which the community has set, let's be clear here. The community was asked by the US government earlier this year, how long do you need to implement your proposals? And the community picked a date, and the US government extended its contract based on the community's input to the 30th of September 2016. Now, how do we get there? We first have to finish our proposals. Once the proposals are done, we enter into an NTIA review phase, which NTIA had said approximately 5 months, and again, depends on many things. Could be shorter, could be longer, but I think that's a reasonable timeline. And then after that, we have to implement what comes out of the proposal. That's the plan. So alongside this plan, these three areas of work are happening. These three areas of work are led at ICANN by two individuals, Akram Atalla, who's the president of our Global Domains Division, and David Conrad, who is our Chief Technology Officer, seated right there at the front. Now, I just want to be clear on what we're doing on these three areas now, what we'll be doing once the proposal is done, and what we'll be doing at the end, because there is a very important distinction. Right now, all we can be doing is what I call administrative preparation, starting to understand where the proposals are, what we will need to do, new people, new systems, All of this is being understood and planned by Akram and David. Then once the proposal is handed to NTIA, we can do a bit more planning because now the proposal is finalized, so we know what's in the proposal. And some pre-work just to make sure we are ready for the real work, which can only start once NTIA has approved and given us the go-ahead on the proposal. So these are the 3 phases of work. I want to assure you that we are getting ready. We're putting the resources in place. But again, our ability to move forward is very much in your hands. We need the proposals to be completed because we cannot implement without having your final proposal. So we look forward to that work being completed. Let me finish by saying this. This work has not been easy. It's been hard work. I think all of you know that. And along the way, a lot of our energies, a lot of our patience has been tested. We've made mistakes. I know I've made mistakes. But I think what's important here is to stay together, to not forget the core values that we've lived with for many, many years. Let's anchor ourselves in these values, and let's finish the work. We're ready. Good luck.